Hello again, everybody. Today we're going to call Henry Nervous Henry T. Wow. I tell you what, the man I have on with us today, a former Lobo basketball star. When I was a kid, man, me and my buddies used to get on our little bikes and we used to fly over to Johnson Gym, and somehow we stole popcorn, peanuts, cracker jacks, whatever, or we snuck in the back door, or we climbed through a window, whatever it took, because we wanted to get a glimpse of the great Ira Harge, the very first really superstar we had here at UNM for the Lobo basketball team. Toby Roy Ball was probably the first. He was a little bit before Ira. I don't want to discredit Toby because he was a great one. But then came the fabulous modern day version of modern day college Division I basketball. And Ira Harge came into that era and Lobo basketball exploded. Bob King brought that new era to us. And he brought along this 6'9", 6'10" superstar who was awesome. And to think those days riding on my bike with my buddies over to Johnson Gym to get a glimpse of this man who could fly quick as an alley cat, leap through the air with the greatest of ease, block shots, slam dunk, ran the floor quick as an alley cat. Ira Harge. And we get in there, we get our good seats and eat our popcorn and our peanuts and our cracker jacks and have our soda pop. We didn't get there early because we had something to sell. We sold early and sat in the middle of the aisle because the place was sold out. Johnson Gym. I love that place. And when I went to school there, I'd walk in Johnson Gym and remember those great days of Ira Harge and Boo Alice and Skip Kruzik and Claude. Anyway, Claude Williams. How could I forget Claude? And that was a great roster and more. Bob Czar, big. Oh my goodness. But the things that Ira did, amazed at it. You know, there's an old saying, he built the pit, Mel Daniels filled the pit because Ira had Johnson Gym sold out. I remember one night the Lobos were playing Jumpin' Joe Caldwell in Arizona State, biggest crowd of all time. And we got there early, we got our seats, and what a game. And when they play Utah, and Chambers had come to town, or Flynn Robinson from the University of Wyoming. And man, we knew Ira was in the house and we were going to win the game. We got used to winning then. But I go back to my opening statement. I'm nervous today because this man means so much to me. And not only was he a great player, he was a great person. And the life he's lived since he arrived in this city is remarkable. And his family, there's a photo that they took as a family that will put tears in your eyes. All of them so good looking, all of them so well groomed, and every one of them has a degree. They're all dressed up in their attire suits and looking sharp. And that's the kind of leader that we see in Ira Harge. He looks great today. God bless this man. And God bless him for saying yes to Henry T, to being on this show. We say good morning to the great, the legendary Ira Harge. Ira, Henry T here, buddy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Good morning to you. How have you been?
Healthy, thank God. It's so good to have you on the show. Thanks for saying yes to Henry T.
Well, thank you, Henry, and I'm just surprised that after all these years that people remember my name.
Wow. And we've talked a little bit over the years, and every time I talk to you, I'm like, wow, man, should I ask him for an autograph again? I over dramatize that, Ira, but you had an influence on us kids. We wanted to be like you, and you were a gentleman. And that was another thing that you portrayed and modeled yourself as one of those great guys who was also a great player. You were nice to us all. You signed our autographs. You were very accessible to the media and your friends. You had an early philosophy about how to treat people. Where did that come from?
Well, as I told you, Henry, over the years, the older guys in Detroit, and coming up at the time that I came up, they said, be nice to everybody because you don't know when you're going to, and my mother, she said, you don't know who you're going to need when you're down. And so I always live with that philosophy to be nice to people because I might need them. And as I look at my hair and all this gray hair, I need sometimes I need people just to get around the house.
Man, you look great. Uh, the parenting that you had when you were a child, do you mind talking about that? Because, man, you were on that straight and narrow, and you liked being there. And there was a game you played later on that had an influence on a lot of things you did throughout your life. But let's go back to the parenting in your family.
Well, my I say my mother because my father was he worked at night and he was not around much during the day. He was always home after midnight, after 7 o'clock in the morning. He'd get in and we'd be going out. But they always told me to help people because you don't know when you're going to need it. And so I came up with that way. And then the older guys around Detroit always said, please help them. Said reach out and reach down and help somebody else. As a matter of fact, there was one guy I was talking about. I can't remember his name, but he was a little kid that I used to walk by his house every day going to high school. And I ran into him about 20 years ago at a high school reunion. And he said, Ira Harge. He said, how are you? He said, I used to always say, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And I thought he was my age, but he wasn't. He was 20 years younger. And he said he had grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And he said that he wanted to bring them over to the place where we had the meeting so they could meet me. I didn't recall him because I was gone after when he was in high school. I graduated in 59. I think he graduated in 68 or 69. Can't recall. But he said he wanted to be like me. As I'll say, I never thought I'd be any person of any kind of stature because I was always in a family situation where we didn't have much and we didn't know many folks and know any kind of things that we didn't have a lot to. I didn't have a lot to look up to, and my mother would always tell me, do something, just do something good, because all of my friends were in jail or drunks, or back then they were just starting marijuana, and it said, stay away from that stuff. You do something that make you good, make you better, and so that's where I was.
Give me a description, give me a paragraph describing your beautiful mom.
Well, she was well, I can't say older now because I'm as old as she is, but she used to say, and she was strict, and she was firm, and she used to always tell them, tell us, not just me, but tell my family, my brothers and sisters, said, be careful. Don't go out and do something stupid. Don't go to jail. Don't get drunk and go get crazy. Uh, and because I had a couple of older brothers who did all those things she was warning us against.
Who are the stars that you looked up to playing this wonderful game when you were a kid? Who are the players that you watched on TV, black and white, little TV screen, or went to see? Because, man, Detroit, that's an NBA city. Who are the great stars of this game back when you were a kid?
Well, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, but the guys who were right there in Detroit was Earl Lloyd and Sweetwater Clifton, Clyde Lavella, Bob Pettit, Cliff Hagan, who I later played against most of these guys, never knowing that I would, but I played against him. Slater Martin, they were all with the St. Louis Hawks. Zelmo Beatty was one. So just to name a few.
Wow. What was it about the game that drew you to it, that made you excel, where you wanted to be a great player?
Well, I'll tell you like this. I didn't want to work in a car factory, which is what we had to look forward to in Detroit. And so I met some of when I say older guys who were there playing basketball around Detroit. And at Wayne State is where they went to school, most of them. Central Wayne State and University of Michigan. I forgot one of the great stars in high school was Johnny Green, jumping Johnny Green from the University of Michigan. And I saw these guys, and they would tell me some of the things to look forward to. And they said, you don't want to be that. So you want to be something different. You want to be a little better than that. And they always told me that, be better than what we are. And I say that to the young folks today, be better than what I was. I don't know how good I was or how bad I was, but I know that I told my boys and my daughter to be better than me. And I have great grandkids and grandkids, and I tell them to be better. Not that there was anything wrong with what I did or what these guys did, but they just wanted us to strive to be better, to go farther. And speaking of going farther, some of the guys never got to go out of the country, but I went to Barcelona, Spain, Saragossa, Bilbao. These are places I'd never heard of. I went to El Paso. I never thought. That's where I think the Cisco Kid was most of his films, his little episodes were based on southern New Mexico and northern, or I guess that'd be western Texas. And I just I saw those guys and saw them on television, and I got to go to the places that they've gone to.
How did Bob King and Harv Schmidt find Ira Harge? Where were you? How are you doing? Do you recall your first handshake with those two coaches who were UNM coaches? They saw you, they went after you. What was all that about? How did they find you?
Well, Harv Schmidt was not here when I was here. It was Sam Miranda.
Yeah.
And Bob King was working up at the University of Iowa, where I was, as I said, I had planned to go. I'd gone out to Burlington Junior College, and I was going to go to the University of Iowa. And Bob King used to come down, and I was trying to think of the other assistant, and they just come in. I was playing at Burlington, this community college now, and they would say, you're going to be a great one for our team. They didn't say for myself, but they said for our team, and that's what I strived on, wanted to be great for the team. And Connie Hawkins was there. I don't know if you know the name, you probably do. He went on and played with the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. And they would come and say, you two, and can't remember the other guards, but Don Nelson was graduating, and they would say, you guys could be a great team, so we could win a Big Ten championship with you. And I believed them, but I wanted to do those things, but there was a scandal involved in that at that time, involving Connie Hawkins and something to do with his brother over in New York, which had no effect on me, but the University of Iowa, Sean Sherman was the coach. Dick Schultz was the name I was trying to find. Dick Schultz and Bob King would come down. But anyway, he called me, asked me to come up to Iowa City from Burlington, which was about 90 miles. And I went up there and I met with them. They said, Ira, we're sorry. But because of the conflict with Connie Hawkins, and I don't know what they had done with me or my name, but they said that we're not going to be able to admit you to the University of Iowa. And I said, okay. So I went back to Burlington, and I started making plans to go elsewhere. And one day in April or May of '62, Bob King came through Burlington, and he said, Ira, he had just gotten a job here at UNM. And he said, Ira, if you don't go to any other, to Iowa, I would like for you to go to school and come play for me in Albuquerque. I never heard of Albuquerque, never thought about Albuquerque. Didn't even know where Albuquerque was, but I said, okay, I'll come down and take a look. And he said, come on down. So I came down, I took a look. And he said, well, while you're here, just why don't you stay a couple of weeks? And he said, I'd like for you to take a class. And I didn't know that if you got enrolled, that counted against your eligibility, even though I hadn't played. But there wasn't anything that Bob did or that he did anything wrong. Just that he was trying to secure me as a player. And so I took a class, and years later I found out why. That if you take a class, you enroll, you lose another year of eligibility. Now I was going to lose one, but they worked it out so that I wouldn't, and that's how I got here. Bob just stopped by. This was in, I think it was in April or early May of '62. Get my years mixed up here. There's been so many, but that's how I got here, and I'm pleased that I did.
Your first impulsive view of Albuquerque, be honest with me. What did you think?
I thought, what the heck did I commit to? I said, I coming out of Detroit in the Midwest, where you get rain all the time and a lot of crops and stuff, and it's all green. And I thought, I'd never seen a mountain, never saw a desert prior to coming here. Never saw a real small town, which Albuquerque was. I think it was a couple 100,000 people there. And that was the size of our neighborhood in Detroit, which was I think at the time, Detroit was the 5th largest city in the country. And so I come from the 5th largest city to the largest city in New Mexico, which was about 200,000 people. And that was my first impression. And I also thought about the movies, the old Western, the John Wayne movies, the Hopalong Castle, and the Cisco Kid. And I thought about them, and I always expect to see someone with a big sombrero hat sitting under a cactus and saying, "Oh, see, come on, come on." That's what I thought I would see. I never saw that, but that was my first impression, my thoughts.
Johnson Gym. I always loved Johnson Gym. I love the way it was constructed. All the fans are right on you. It was well built. It had a modern look to it. Man, it was the apple of our eyes. Someday we all dreamed that we would play at Johnson Gym. Well, before you came, they'd get a couple of big crowds now and then. But when you landed and you started winning, man, that was a full house almost immediately. Do you remember the immediate growth of Johnson Gym, the popularity of basketball, the attendance, and all the excitement?
I remember some of it. I mean, as I said, this was a lot of years ago. But I remember the first time I played at Johnson Gym, it was West Texas State, or I can't recall the exact name, but there were like 1,700 people there, or 1,800, or maybe 2,800. But they were talking about how big the crowd was. And the second or third time I played, it was close to 4,000. And then we were up to 5,000. I don't remember what Johnson held, but it was a big gym to me because our little high school gym had the track around the top of it, and we would play, and people stand on the track, and we would play down underneath it. And from there, this is the first year. And towards the end of the first year, we were, I think we were 17 and 9 or 20, 17 and 9 or 18 and 9. I don't remember the stats on there. But then after that, then the next year, they was talking about selling season tickets, and they sold those all out. Most of them were sold out in the second year. The first year was I guess a learning curve, and we learned that there would be. Then Bob King went out and got a couple more guys. You mentioned Bob Czar. Then we had a guy, Mike Lucero from Santa Fe, Phil Jordan from El Paso, Skip Kruzik from Illinois, Jim Howard from Illinois. We even had a guy, Gary Suter, who was I don't know if you remember that name. Gary Suter played at Sandia High School, and he was a freshman that year, our senior year. And Gary Suter had some problems. I don't remember what they were, and no care to guess, but I understand that he died 10, 20, no, more than over 20 years ago. And Gary Suter was the big, what's the word?
Well, I remember those players. Dick Boo Ellis, flamboyant, could handle the ball. He would dunk. He did every trick in the book. I mean, he could bring the ball up the floor and have every move in the book. What do you remember about the name, the man, Dick Boo Ellis?
The funniest thing that I remember is that after a while, we would come out and they would introduce him. And then they would say, "And Boo Ellis," and then people would say, "Boo!" And initially, we thought they were booing him, but they were just calling his name out. And that's what I remember most about Boo. But the other thing, just to give you a little update on his history, I understand that I've spoken to him. He's had one leg fused together, the left leg, and he had part of the right leg amputated. So he's in a nursing home over in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't have an address or anything for him now, but I'm sure I could find it. But he's not doing real well, and he just got over the COVID infection.
Wow.
And Claude Williams, you mentioned him. Claude is in a nursing home also, and I knock on wood here that I'm not. You know, I look at this gray hair, and I'm a lot grayer than I ever thought I would be.
Mike Lucero, they call him Lucy,
Yes,
Santa Fe High School.
yes.
He looks younger than all of us today. I don't know what he eats, if it's in the beans and chili or whatever. Do you concur? That's a non-ageless man, Mike Lucero.
Yes, I do. Mike, you said you don't know what he eats. We don't know who his hairdresser is either. I don't know if he does it. I'm just kidding. But Mike was a great guy, and we call him Lucy. Uh, and I don't really know how. I'm sure it's from his name, Lucero. And but he was a fun guy. He would do things, and he'd say, I want to recall when we went to New York, and
Good shooter,
pardon,
great shooter.
and rebounding. He had quick hands and quick feet. But anyway, I was going to say that we went to New York, and Mike, we were walking around the New York, can't think of New York Hilton or the New York Hotel New York. We were walking around and we would see all these big buildings. And Mike would look up and say, wow. He'd look at those buildings, he'd laugh. And I thought that was just so funny because we had big buildings in Detroit, but not quite as big as tall as they were in New York. And then we went to on stage play, and it had Harold Arnold, the guy that played on oh God, I can't think of his name. I can't. I forget his name. It'll come to me in a second. But he and Jean-Jacques Gabor and Ava Gabor were on the movie together, and we went in and we met him, and we went backstage.
Wow.
And Mike was just so. Not only Mike, but we all were. I'd never seen a television star in person, but we saw them. We commented on how pretty we thought the lady was, and he, Harold, is it Harold on it? Anyway, he introduced us. I mean, they introduced us to him, and he's offered to sign autographs if we want them. And I still have a good autograph somewhere around the house here of him that he signed with us. We took pictures with him. I'm sure that in the old archives somewhere at the university, they have those pictures.
Skip Krusich. What do you recall about Skip?
Skip was already here when I got here. He was a freshman the year before I got here, and he was a sophomore the year I got here. And Skip's dad had been a coach in Illinois. I think Kankakee. I'm not sure of the name, but his dad had been a coach, and I think they had tried to get Skip to go to the University of Iowa, if I remember correctly. But he came here and he played. And he was the point man, the point guard for the team there, and that's what I remember. I remember mostly the Skip would bring the ball up, and the guys would tease him that he'd come up and he'd put up 3 fingers or 4 fingers or whatever, and we'd wait. They would tease us later about how the guys would wait, and then one would get in position, and then Skip would start the play, whatever it was. If it was a 2 or a 5 up, 3 down, you know, they did that. That's what I remember most about Skip.
Yeah. But it was a solid starting 5. I mean, you guys came out and you were solid. You could play against people. and be in the game and have a chance of winning every game with the roster that Bob King put on that floor. Now, Bob King brought his philosophy. It was a little slowed down. I mean, you could play all. You could run, Ira. You could leap. You could dash and slash. You had it all. But Bob King wanted to control the atmosphere out there. He liked the slow down game. Was that compatible with you?
Well, not really. Let me tell you what we used to say about King. Said he went out and recruited thoroughbreds and changed us into Clydesdales horses. And what he was what he explained to me that he did was he didn't think that he had. And I'm not trying to diminish anybody's ability. He didn't think he had a talent or the ability to rip and run with guys all for 40 minutes. So he would stall a ball. He had what they call a stall, and I don't remember what number it was, but he would take out the starters and he put them into the stallers in the game. And what they did was they ran a four corner, and that came from Dean Smith over in North Carolina. And they ran that we would run that four corner offense for a couple minutes or whatever length of time he felt we needed, and then he'd put us back in to finish the game. So they would stall the ball and keep us in the game, hopefully, and then he would take his starters and put them back in, and that's what they would do. That was one of the assets of Skip Cruiser, that he would stall the ball. He and not Michael Hill, Phil Jordan, Jim Howard, Bruce Shamala, Keith Sponholz. Can't remember all the names. I should have read that, but I'd have to go through years of old papers.
Wow. Well, your reception here, you knew that people loved you and were coming to watch you play. You're a young man at the time. How did it feel like to be the center, no play on words, but the center of attraction?
Well, Henry, it took a while for me to come to that conclusion. I never anticipated going any place and being a star or the person. I never anticipated that, because as I said, I played with several guys in high school, Smoking Games being one, who averaged, I think, 27, 28 points. A guy named Wavy Jr. averaged 14 to 15. A guy, Ed Stewart, was 21, 22 points. I was always the second or third tier of guys. And as I got to become a better player, I got to score more. And that's when that started to, I came to some kind of realization. And I know in going back to Detroit, I try to find guys that would help, as I told you the last time, to look. And I tell Bob King, like the first time I saw Mel Daniels, it was in 62 or 63, and he was in high school. He was at Persian High School, and I told Bob King, I came back because I played in the summer league up there, and I said, you ought to go and look at that guy. He said, who is he? I told him who he was, and he and I don't know if Sam went up, but I know Bob King went up, because he went up and he went to see Mel Daniels play. He came by to my house, met my mother, and my father was asleep, but I know he met my mother, and he said something to the effect, and that I need to need to get some more players. And he spoke to a guy, Albert Richmond. I don't know where Albert is right now. He spoke to Charlie Primus and Johnny Klein and Ernie Wagner. And these are all guys who had gone to my old high school. And he met these guys and they started to introduce Bob to other players like Mel Daniels, Jim Patterson, uh, oh, I can't, a guy named Chavis, Chavis, who was there in Detroit at Southeastern or Southwestern High School. And he recruited those guys. And he was, I think, in school with Oliver Darton, who played at Michigan. Chavis was. And those guys all came down, not Oliver, but all but Oliver. And these were the kind of guys that Bob was the meeting. And this is what I said about the other coach there here at UNM, that he needs to get. I'm not trying to tell him how to do it, but that's where you can find players that could do, like Spencer Haywood. I don't know if you remember that name. Spencer Haywood came down here. A guy named.
All of you put a winner together. Then you started winning, you started winning WAC championships. And then that fabulous year, the senior year, you go to the NIT. The crowd lined up at the airport to say bye to your airplane. And we'd never seen that before. I mean, you guys were the hit. Sports fans were, man, any way they could get a Lobo basketball ticket, they would get it. And the place was full. And you were winning the titles, the conference title. And then the NIT, 1964. This city literally was on its ear with excitement. And man, you're going to Madison Square Garden, national TV. Oh my goodness. The fanfare, the excitement. What do you recall about that excitement at that time?
Well, I look back, what was that, 60 some years, almost 60 years, 50, back to 64, that'd be 56 years. And I remember that I see that my grandson and great-grandson and great-granddaughter are in the pot. And hi, guys. And they, I remember going to the airport and never seeing anybody there, because that was before they had all the security they had. The security there was chain link, and they used to have those prop planes that had the wheel, the two wheels in the front and the one in the back, that would maneuver. I remember seeing that, and I saw it. And we went to New York and we played, and Madison Square Garden was the place at the time in the country to play. And we went there and we saw, this is where Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Cliff Hagan, these guys all played there at the Madison Square Garden. We had played at the Olympic, but only once or twice. That's the big stadium in Detroit. And we saw that. And I remember the first time we played, I think we beat Bradley or
you played Drake to start. Then you beat NYU.
Yeah,
then you have Bradley in the championship game.
Thank you. I got to get out of order. But I met those guys and we went there. And I remember beating Bradley first. And we were leaving the gardens, the floor, and there was this guy standing up above the gym, and he was cursing and yelling and screaming at us because we'd beaten his team. And I said, that guy's still a loser. But then the next game, which was the next night, we played NYU. And NYU had Barry, oh God, I can't think of his name. Barry, he went on and played with the San Francisco Golden State. They weren't called Golden State there, but anyway, he went on and played with them, with Wilt Chamberlain and guys like that. And we beat them, and the guy really, the next day, he really cursed and screamed and yelled at us and me, and he was going to kill us. And I thought, wow, I'd never been threatened before, but I do remember that. And that was an odd feeling. But I thought, I said, maybe this guy will be, that was before we had all the guns and things. I thought maybe this guy's going to be standing outside with a knife to cut us and stab us, you know, and he wasn't, but he was just complaining about how he lost his money. And then the final game was Bradley, who beat us, and we had gotten in foul trouble. Not we, I was there, I played that, I think the first 8-10 minutes and had gotten into foul trouble and had to come out. And Bob King said he learned a lesson from that he would never take his starting team out because of foul trouble. He would let them play until he had to. And I guess I had 3 fouls, and I came out, set out most of the first quarter, first half, because then we did halves, not quarters. And he said that he learned to leave those guys in until he had to take them out. And then
you weren't real happy about the officiating done on you in that game.
No, we weren't. I had 3 fouls within 3 minutes, it seemed like. But he said that was his lesson. That's one of his coaching lessons. And that was his second year of being a head coach. And a lot of things he learned, and I'm sure I learned too. But
there were people, I remember Red Auerbach being there. They interviewed him on TV, the famous Boston Celtic coach. He loved you. But you get on the airplane to come back home, you land, and this huge crowd welcomed your team back home. What did you think when you saw that big crowd?
Well, I said, these people are crazy. They're standing out here in the dust storm. And I know when I wore contact lenses. When I got out, the first thing that happened was a gust of wind hit me, and I was crying, not because of the game, but because of the dust in my eyes. And I thought, I said, couldn't wait to get back home, back to the dorm. I was staying at the Coronado dorm, and we all got in cars and we drove. I thought we were going to Coronado. What we would do, and we would go to Johnson Gym, we would leave our things, then go back to our rooms. But we left our equipment, and then those people that followed us. There was a line from the airport all the way down to Johnson Gym, and then those people were there. And not only were they outside of the gym, they were in the gym also. And it was like, I don't recall the number, but it was at least 3,000 or 4,000 people in the gym. And I was just amazed. I didn't realize that basketball had caught on so well here. And then after that, I remember the start of the following season when they were really selling out tickets. And then Bob King and Pete McDavid was talking about building a new arena. And they were going to go up and talk to the legislature here about a new arena. And then I didn't realize that they had, I don't know when they passed the law or that, but they agreed to build a new gym, and that was the pit, the birth of the pit. And that year, after I got married, of course, and then they started digging this big hole over there where the pit is, and I thought it was strange. They dug a big hole, and then they put a roof up. I thought that's kind of crazy. I thought it would be a conventional arena like the pit, like Johnson was, where they would have the big bulldozers and tractors going down into the pit, loading up and coming out. They go down one side, come up the other side. And they built those things. Then they started pouring cement. And I think I left and went to Spain. No, I'm sorry. I went to Philadelphia. Then I left Philadelphia and went to Spain. And I saw all of this happening and heard all of what was happening.
I'm not sure the message I just got. There's some people live in our studio, ProView, that wanted to be a surprise guest for you. I think it's the message I heard. And let's see who's in the studio that wants to say hi to the great Ira Harge.
Well, I see that little skinny kid who, well, he was never skinny because when he was born, he weighed 9 pounds and 10 ounces, or 8 pounds and 10 ounces. I see Ira Harge Jr. And
you have there.
And I also see one of his children and his two grandchildren. And hi, Ira.
Hi.
Hi, Zion. Hi, Ra. Hi. And hi back to you, Ira.
Wow. Who are those good-looking people, Ira?
Well, Ira Jr. is my first son, and Ira the third is his first son, and then his granddaughter is Ira Monet Harge.
Let's put them up again, guys. Let's take a look at them and slow it down.
Zion Elijah.
Back up on the screen, gentlemen.
Those are his kids. They're just grandkids and kids and great-grandkids. I didn't realize I'd ever be that old.
I don't know where they went. Did they leave the set?
No, they're still there. I see them. I don't know.
Put them up, guys. Let everybody take a good look at his family.
I'll be part of it there. I don't know if you saw him or not. But Ira looked like she's going to fall asleep as she got.
Well, I saw him up there for a second. I don't see him now.
Well, I see one guy. I see this little guy, Zion. He's wearing glasses now. And
well, if the public sees him, that's all that counts. I can't see him myself, so.
Yeah, I can't. I asked my grandson to make sure, one, that that the eyes were checked, and that they have braces. Raya is going to need them, but they said she's too young. And Zion, they found out that he needed glasses, and he's got glasses now. And I'll tell you a quick little story. When I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I realized that I could not see the board, but I had a twin sister, and we used to sit right next to each other and get in a lot of trouble talking, but she would tell me what was written on the board, and then I could do my homework or my work. And so finally, after I think I was 15 years old, going into high school, I just graduated from Grisel, going to Northeastern, and I had a friend who wore glasses, and he was telling me about this and that we had one of those makeshift goals, and I said, I can't see that. I said, let me see your glasses. And he took his glasses off and said, and I put them on, and I could see all these things with definition. And I said to myself, I need to go get some glasses. And I told my mother, and she said, well, I don't have any money. You're going to have to find money. And I would sell pop bottles and whatever, do little odd jobs. Glasses cost $15, and that was in 1959. 1956. And so I had to go and earn the money to buy the glasses. I earned the money, I bought the glasses, and they talked me into buying some insurance for the glasses. I never knew what insurance was, but I got the insurance, and I needed it because every week or two I was going down to get the glasses repaired or replaced. Something would happen, and they would I would need to have them replaced or repaired. And I see Zion there with his glasses, and I'm so happy that he has them at a much earlier age than I did.
I don't want to leave the show without the story. You got a tremendous lady supporting you every day. I've met her on several occasions. Man, she's so organized. You married the homecoming queen. She's pretty, she's articulate, she's efficient, she's an educated lady, she's an educator. Man, you hit the jackpot, Coach.
Well, I'll tell you real quick, Henry, how I first got interested in Jerry. I was at a game. It was the first Lobo game I'd ever gone to. It was a football game, and I can't remember who they were playing, but it was in September or October of '62, and this young lady walked down with two other guys, and I got interested. I saw her. I said, "Who is that?" And some of the guys that were with me, said, "That's Jerry. She goes to St. Joe's." I didn't even know who St. Joe's was. She was to college, so she was up there, and I did my darndest to figure out how to get in touch with her. And I called and asked. And there's a friend, she on TV last night, Brenda Ballou. She says, "I have the number. I'll get it for you." And she gave me a number, and I called up there, and I got rebuffed several times. And finally, I said that the heck with that. I'll find another girlfriend to date. And
Ira, bring her on the screen with you.
right here, and she had an older brother who lived right down the hill from where we are now, and
Hi, Jerry.
Brother was wanted to see some of the games, and Jerry told him that this strange guy was calling him, and she wouldn't answer the phone, and he told her, "You better call him, sis." She said that he needed tickets to the game, yes. And so he called, and oh, wow, there's a picture. There's my oldest son right there in the center. I don't know if you guys see that.
Wow.
And pregnant with the other son, Joe.
Jerry, when you first met Ira or first saw him or heard about him, what were your impressions?
Well, actually, Henry, my brother is the one who told me to go to the university library and look on the sports page, because he had called a couple of times for a date, and I had refused because I didn't know who he was. You know, I'm out here at St. Joe's, and I'm a pretty intense student, so I didn't pay much attention to the university Lobos at all, but my brother did. So he said, "Sis, go to the library and look at the sports page." And I did, and he was all over the sports page. And he says, "Now I'm going to call him, and you are going to go out with him." He said, "I need tickets to the Lobo games. I can't get a seat anymore." So
Ira,
that's how we had our first date. We went to
Ira, was it love at first sight?
Not quite.
No.
As a matter of fact, I was seeing her the other night. There was someone trying to kiss an older movie. They was trying to kiss a girl, and we were driving across the bridge, the Central Bridge, and she was on the door. I thought she was going to jump out. I told her, I said, "I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to bother you." And that's when they used to have one of Trisco was a dirt road, and that was a shortcut to the
Campus.
university.
Yeah.
And we,
Jerry, was it love at first sight for you?
No, I was doing my brother's bidding. I was just trying to get him some tickets to the game. But he was a little bit persistent after that, so we got to know each other better.
which he were you talking about?
You.
Hey, well, together, congratulations. Your family is the role model family. And that photograph where you're all decked out in the suits and formal wear, wow. Whose idea was that? That's a magnificent photograph.
I'm not sure which picture you're talking about, Henry.
There you go.
Oh,
Oh,
that's,
the wedding, Ira Jr.'s wedding.
and there's little Araya.
Just
Friend.
eat the tootsie. They're
Yes.
so little and tiny. Yeah.
And Dom's pregnant with
Sorry.
Zion in that picture.
One day and you.
That's all the grandkids.
All except Zion.
Yeah, because I was born yet.
Jerry, what do you think of that photograph? What's the significance of that shot right there?
That's in Santa Fe.
And then there's all the granddaughters and their girlfriends.
Well, I would call it I'd call it love. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that was a great day. It was a
Yeah,
great
it was
day.
Ira Jr. was getting married that day.
Wow.
He and his wife standing
Lisa,
up,
yeah.
Lisa,
Her two daughters.
Alessa, and Alianza. And then Day, Jasmine.
You know, I've seen you do a lot of marvelous things, and I congratulate you on finding Jerry. But together, your legacy is what we just saw in that beautiful photograph. Would you concur?
Yes, yes, we are. We're very proud and happy with our family.
Well, we can't trade them in.
Okay.
And Zion,
They're not like cars. You can't just go out and buy another one. You just got to keep what you got. That reminds me, my mother used to say, you know what you got, but you don't know what you're going to get. Kids all the time. So you know what you got, but you don't know what you're going to get.
Jerry, let's have some fun before we go. Do you have a basketball memory of Ira on the court that you'll never forget?
oh my, that's a hard question, Henry. There were so many. I enjoyed watching him play. I didn't get to see him play a lot of games for the Lobos, but the one you mentioned, I got to see the Arizona State one, which was memorable. But I guess the NIT, I got to fly to New York without him knowing it for the final game of the NIT.
Yeah,
And that's where we got engaged.
my goodness.
The NIT was a national invitational tournament, which was which was on par to the NCAA now. Now it's not a very well viewed tournament, but the national, that was kind of you had the NCAA and the NIT, and you had a choice. We had a choice which one to go to. So we went to Bob King because of the eligibility things. We were co-champions with Arizona State, and we elected to go, or voted and elected to go to the NIT because we were losing some players. One, myself.
Well, Henry, I was on the bleachers from 63 until, I haven't gotten to see Araya and Zion yet, but almost 50 years on the bleachers. through the pros with Ira, and then in the high school and college with the boys and Cecilia. And now we're waiting for Rara and Zion to start playing again so we can go sit on the bleachers and watch them.
But one thing I'll say,
Hey, guys, hold on to that thought, Ira. we're going to say bye, ladies and gentlemen, to our ProView audience and GovTV and Comcast 26. But we're going to keep you live here on Henry T. GameFace Live on our Facebook. So we'll say bye to that audience and wave goodbye to them, Jerry, because they love you already. We'll have you again for part 3. But we'll say bye to that audience. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Henry T. We'll see you the next time. But if you're on Facebook, stay right there because you're going to get a little extra treat. So we'll say bye to all of you and take a little pause here. Thank you for our sponsorship for today, especially Amestoy Drywall and, of course, Rex Lumber Company and Canteen. Thank you out there to our friend Kevin and Ben Lucero. God bless you, Ben, for all you do for us. And at Indigo Mortgage. So Pierre Amestoy, God bless you for being there with Henry T. forever. And the Hydro Bar, the Baca family, Tim Baca and Julie Baca, going there for the most healthy drink on earth. I mean, delicious, clean water. Thank you. Now back to finish the interview with Jerry and Ira Harge. Go ahead. I want to hear this eventual warm up to Ira's story. Since it wasn't love at first sight, Jerry, what eventually impressed you about Ira?
Well, he was persistent, and we grew to know each other and to love each other. And as I said, I got my engagement ring at the NIT after the game, although everybody was kind of sad because they lost. And you know the story of that game.
Is sad?
Well, they weren't very happy, but at least they made it to the finals. So, you know, they came in second. And I didn't get to fly back with the team because the plane was filled. So I flew back with the cheerleaders on another flight from New York that day. So I didn't get to go see the parade and all the fans out welcoming everyone.
Yeah.
And we graduated from college on a Sunday, and we were married on Thursday because Ira had to leave and go to Philadelphia for the 76ers.
Wow. My goodness.
Well, I was
Ira.
we didn't win the NIT championship, but we were co-champions at the WAC. And then my kids went on. My daughter won the first championship. She won the city championship in Las Vegas, Nevada, and and then Joe won the RMAC. Is that it, Ira?
Yeah.
RMAC.
Western side.
Pardon?
The western side of the RMAC in 2009.
And then Ira went on, and he can tell you about that. He won 4 championships, and on that team of Joe's, there's Trey, that was his nephew, and Ira's son, and then later Cecilia's son came up and played on that team at Highlands University. Don't want to leave them out. And then Ira went on and won 4 championships at Pecos High School.
Amen.
And he can tell you about that. And they have
in the backyard. And Jerry, you can attest to this. Did you ever watch Ira Sr. against Ira Jr. and Joe in the backyard getting after it?
Yes, he was always after him. He wanted him to shoot a shot today. He wanted them to shoot 100 to 500 shots a day. I don't know if they accomplished it. He also coached Ira at Pius. He was a volunteer coach for Ira Jr. and Joe at Pius when they were in high school with Duffy.
You know, all your kids are scholars. They took care of the education business. God bless you both for that sort of inspiration. Jerry, you answer the question here. What does that mean to you as parents to see that success in your children?
Well, my mother was really big on getting an education. She was very inspirational in my life, was my role model. And so I was a very good student most of my life. And so hopefully I inspired that. As my daughter says, it was not when were you going to college, it was where you were going to college. That's, we instilled that. And so our grandkids have come along. We have 7 of them, and 4 of them have degrees already, and we have 3 in college.
Wow.
So we're very proud.
What does that mean to you, buddy?
I'm sorry.
What does it mean to you?
What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means is that they're smarter than I am. Ira has 2 master's degrees. Joe has 1 or 2, and Cecilia has 2. Is that correct? 2 master's degrees. So that's what it means. And I'm just happy that they chose to go to college and went on and succeeded. And then they got all the intelligence from their mother. Yeah.
Wow.
They got the basketball ability from me, but the talent, the intelligence from their mother. This is what all my friends tease me and say. And then I'm hoping that the great grandkids will get there. They're good students. And I see one's, he's getting tired of this, he's yawning. So, and the other one, falling asleep. I taught her how to wink when she was like 3 years old. And she couldn't wink her eye. And so that's what I've been doing. So I told her to hold one eye down and then close the other one. And she told me after 3 or 4 years, which is all of her life, she says, Pappy, that's what they call me. She says, I can wink. I remember this. She can wink. I've asked her to teach her brother. I don't know if she's taught her brother yet. Can you wink, Desire?
They're very good students too. They're getting
And
very good
he
grades.
learned to wink. I don't know if Ira Jr. has, but I know that the kids, the grandkids.
Hey guys, I know I don't want to discredit Joe and his coaching abilities and his great attributes as a coach, but that story at Pecos High School is phenomenal. You have the whole state keeping track of the Panthers' win-loss record. Did they win another one? Gosh, they beat Clovis. Oh my goodness. You had a very popular Pecos High School fraternity of fans around the state. And you were there. I don't know how many games you went up there and watched, but what did you think of that story? That caught fire all around New Mexico. Everybody became a Pecos fan all of a sudden. What did you think, Ira?
Something real quick. I expected Ira not to be in some kind of business. I didn't expect him to be a coach. And I expected Joe, who was always interested in sports and coaches and players. As a matter of fact, I used to call him the encyclopedia because I'd say something and he would correct me. And Cecilia, she's the, what's the word? Archives lady. She would know, and she wanted to keep all the old memorabilia. As a matter of fact, I have a pair of sneakers in the garage now that I played in 1967 that I've been saving for her. And archive, yeah, the archive. And this is what my kids have grown to be. I'll let you.
What did you think of that Pecos story, Jerry?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Of course, as mom, they know that I can't watch when they were in Pius and in the state championships. You know, Joe's team never lost. He's an undefeated team at St. Pius. And they always laughed because Joe said there were 18,000 people in the pit, and he could hear my voice telling him to put his arms up to guard when he went on the ball. When the ball's out of bounds, I always do get your arms up because he was so tall.
Not only could Joe hear, but the rest of us could hear.
So anyway, but it was very, very encouraging. And I was so proud the first time because the people in Pecos had won for 51 years. And then they won that one, you know, I thought, wow, that's good. And so that's really phenomenal just to win one championship. And then when they won the second one, I thought, wow. And then Ira was bringing these players along from 8th graders. So he had a feeder system from elementary because, you know, Pecos was a small school, so you could start them learning the skills from elementary school. So he had this pipeline coming up through, and the boys just loved staying in the gym up there. So we got to see quite a few of the games, and we were very proud. But 4 championships was really a surprise.
But all won championships, all of the kids. Ira won 1 or 2 in high school. No,
Just one, Dad. One as a player and 4 as a coach.
Bill was on 2 championship teams, right? And
What a story.
pardon?
The Harge story, ladies and gentlemen, is one of a kind. And I am so blessed to be able to bring the whole family on today, almost, but to bring Jerry and Ira on and some of the kids. And wow, what a highlight for me. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Ira. Is there one more thing you want to say to the audience that I have not asked today?
No, you had us, you are live in front of everybody.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and this is the vanity. I still can't get all over gray hair. I told you that as a young man growing up, I never thought that I would be around to 80 years, and I got an 80th birthday coming up in a couple of weeks, because all of my friends are either dead, guys I grew up with in high school, or in prison, or drunk.
Wow.
And Wood, I'm neither. I'm not dead, I'm not in prison, and I'm not a drunk. So,
You know, Jerry, let me put a serious touch on what he just said. It's about relationships in our world. You met Bob King. He brought you to Albuquerque. Thank God he did. And he was a basketball coach. And people fell in love with you, Ira. And then you met this beautiful lady, and all of a sudden you're hooked on a lot of things that you love, not only basketball, but you love this lady, you love Albuquerque, you stayed here, all your children are born here. What a story. Wow. Capsulize it, Jerry, for us. The fact that there's so much there.
Correction, Henry. Ira Jr. was born in Philadelphia when Ira was with the 76ers. And Joe and Cecilia were born in Albuquerque. So after he was born and Ira was waived and went to Europe, we moved back to Albuquerque. So Ira came back when he was about 3 months old. And Joe and Cecilia were born here. But it's been quite an adventure for us, especially for me, because never did I dream I would be traveling all over the country and all over the world related to basketball. And so it has given me particularly a lot of opportunity and a lot of adventure that I never dreamed that I would have.
Wow.
just
Thank you again.
I want Ira to tell you about Mama Lisa. That's his wife.
We're almost out of time. We'll get Ira Jr. to tell us about that story next time. We got more to tell. Hey, before I go, we got about 20 seconds left here, Ira. I understand Jerry's a great cook. Your favorite meal where she puts it on the table for you, What is your favorite meal that Jerry prepares for you?
For me, are you
Yeah.
talking to me? Well, gee, there's so many. But
Give me one. Enchiladas?
no, she had a chicken enchilada, chicken casserole, chicken casserole. That's what I like.
In the,
Thank you to both of you. What do you like to make for him, Jerry?
well, I do. He loves sweet potatoes. And I do a stir fry. I do a stir fry for him. But the kids all like the kids all like the chili and
I'll have to call you back.
the kids all like the enchiladas in the chili that I make. I've become a real New Mexican cook, so and I think that's what they like a lot.
You've warmed our hearts today. Thank you for what you've done for all of your fans around the country today on the Henry T. Show.
Well, thank you.
Jerry.
For having us all. And you had us some surprises. There were two others.
Real quick, Ira. Your thoughts on the 2021 Lobos. Give me a quick fix.
I'm sorry.
A quick fix for the Lobos of today.
Well, they're doing well. I don't want to talk. This don't say anything bad unless you say something good. And they're good. They just need help. You know, they don't. Every team doesn't need a 7-footer, but they sure make it a lot easier.
God bless you both. Thank you for being with us today, Jerry and Ira and all the family. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye, Henry.
Bye, Ira.
Adios. Peace out.
Wow, what a story. Don't want to quit. They're such great people with smiles on their faces. What an accomplishment to all the members of the family. They warm our hearts.
Thank
What
you.
a pleasure for me to bring him to you today, right here on Henry T. GameFace Live.
Thank
Wow.
you.
We'll see you next time. God
Thanks.
bless you. We'll see you soon. Take care.